Okay, so this is teaching standard 5, that teaching to respond to the strengths and needs of all pupils. Just going to start off with Moore 2014, who says that a lot of teachers have a lack of differentiation, which means that they're not always meeting the individual needs of the students. And if we're not meeting the individual needs of the students, how do we actually know that they're making progress? So in this lesson, I feel like the individual needs weren't met from the start. It starts off with two different types of trampolines, as you can see here. So we have the smaller trampolines, which were mainly used for the non-confident students, and then the bigger trampolines, which are used for GCSE assessments and are used for the Olympics. So at this point, students were given the choice whether they wanted to use the bigger trampolines or the smaller trampolines. It wasn't set in stone. However, if they're more likely to choose trampoline for the GCSE, or they're more confident, they're encouraged to go for the bigger trampolines rather than the smaller trampolines, because that's what they'll be assessed on in their GCSE assessment. From here, the first half of the lesson was differentiated, and it was quite self-differentiated. So each student got one of these task skills. Each group got one of these skills tasks, and you can clearly see here that it's got 3 to 4 marks, 6 to 8 marks, and 9 to 10 marks. I set out and said that I didn't give them one that they had to do. However, I thought I'd ask them which ones they feel more comfortable with, and obviously some of them went away and did the 3 to 4. Some were able to do 6 to 8 and 9 to 10 marks. So this was self-differentiated from the start, and it's something that was quite nice and worked quite well because students were able to show where they were working at, and it was a bit of self-assessment to show that they know what skills they're capable of, and they're not going to try and break their back doing a turntable, so they're going to stick to skills that they know. So this was a lower group. You can see here LW is one that I use a bit later in this portfolio. So LW is one to look at who starts off with some simple skills. However, over here we've got the hard skills. So the people on the bigger trampoline usually were doing the 6 to 8s and occasionally did the 9 to 10, even though they're not on here. So if you look at here, we've got Vinny, who pretty much did all of the 6 to 8 marks, and he's also going to be used later on in this. So at this point, they're both differentiated and they're both doing skills that they feel comfortable with. So they're progressing at their own rates, which means that they're able to do something they're comfortable with. The second half was a routine-based skill. So again, this was similar to the skills, and it was sort of self-differentiated. However, the emphasis was on pretty much what skills you've been using is going to be what routine that you're going to look at. So the higher ability students were encouraged to do the harder one, as at GCSE level, if they're not able to do the harder skill, they're not going to get the best grades. So at GCSE, it's marked out of 35. The skills are marked out of a certain percentage, so 10, and then the routine's marked out of 25. So the maximum they can get is 35 skills. And if they're not able to do the harder skills, then they're not going to get the maximum marks, which means that they're not going to be able to take it for their GCSE, one of their GCSE sports. So as you can see here, Luke LW, who previously did the simpler skills, is now trying for the medium routine, as he's probably one of the more confident in the lower ability groups, which means that he's able to do the medium rather than the easy skill, which could boost his grade up. However, this is just a practice, so this was nice for them to see before their raw assessment what they're actually capable of. And as again you can see here, so the harder routines. So you've got Vinny here, who accomplished the harder routine to a good level, and it was a nice practice for this group to see where they're at and to see whether they can actually do the harder routines for their GCSE assessment. So if I just flick over here, you can see some of the video. So this was Vinny doing the harder routine, and you can see that it's a lot more fluid when I show you compared to Luke's over here. So he does the routines, he's got the 10 bounces, and it's nice and controlled. Okay, and then if I compare this to Luke, so that was quite fluid. And then Luke over here, you can see is kind of all over the place, doesn't really know where he's going, and you can see the difference clearly. And at this point, it's really nice for the rest of the group to see what progress has been made by different students. So the higher ability students who were on the bigger trampoline might not have got a chance to see the lower ability students on their trampoline, and vice versa. So it was nice to see the differences in in what was going on and what they need to do to get the best marks possible. So going on from there, it's a bit hard to see, but you can see final grades here. So this is Vinny's final grades. Not very clear to see. However, he gets 32 out of 35 in his practical, whereas Luke over here only gets 25 out of 35. So it's kind of given them a bit of an indication. So this is the impact on the practice they had and whether they should be taking it for GCSE. So these final grades will give them an indication of whether they should take it as a GCSE sport or whether they should maybe look at something else. Just going back to this lesson that we did before the final grades, it was a nice way of getting them to practice to see where they were at, and then therefore in their final practical, they were able to get a better grade because they already knew the routines and they already knew what they had to do to get the best marks. So they were able to push themselves that little bit more to get the best grade. So like I said, Vinny being able to get 32 out of 35 is pretty good achievement, and it shows the progress he's made from the start, which he probably wouldn't have got from this video here. With that little bit more control, he was able to get 35 and do really well.